Hey guys, welcome to TV guys. Wait, hey guys.
Boring! I want to start the episode.
Should never trust you.
And why should I care? Listen, if you're going to do TV, guys, you have to do it good.
All right, I guess we'll just jump into this criticism. The dad of Bluey in both episodes you have to watch is really annoying.
Now,
That is a good impression though.
thank you. Catch you on the flip side, Willie. Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Guys, a show brought to you by both New Zealand and hell. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're talking about two shows that don't really go together:
No.
Supernatural and Bluey. One of them, one of the episodes we watched, they opened the gates of hell. Another one, there was a really annoying unicorn puppet. So, I mean, give or take, they're about the same thing.
Which one is worse?
Which one is worse? All right. So, as I was rewatching the episodes, I especially of Bluey, I realized that as I'm watching, I'm like, these are funny episodes, and that's why I picked it. But I definitely did pick episodes that showcase a more annoying side of Bandit, because we've talked about Bluey and we've talked about Bandit before, and it's he's such a good dad, and you can see how he plays with his kids. But you like Unicorse is an outlier, because that one, he's straight up, he's sleeping on the couch tonight sort of thing to his wife.
Yeah.
It's he's being terrible, but it's super funny.
And on the other side, with Supernatural, I'm realizing you got to see a little bit of one of my dad picks, which was Bobby, who wasn't their dad, but was kind of like their surrogate dad.
For me, I was as I was watching Supernatural, I was I don't think you meant to do this, but you picked an episode or two episodes pretty much where they were estranged for most of it. And I feel like Supernatural, a big part from what I know of what people have said, is the strength of Sam and Dean together. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, oh, I would like to see, for my one episode to watch this, something more of their camaraderie and them joined together. But it's not like I hated it. I just was like, eh.
No, but at the same time, that is somewhat true. But they're also at odds a lot throughout the series, and so this is actually it's not super uncommon. Like in the first episode, well, maybe I'll just get into it. So in the first episode of Supernatural, Sam is away at college. He's like, I'm done with. He's like ready to move on, get married, be done with this hunting life. And all of a sudden, Dean shows up and is like, no, Dad disappeared. We got to get back into it. And the demon, the same demon from this episode I had you watch, killed his girlfriend in the same exact way that he killed his mom, and that was like the catalyst to get him to go back into hunting. But he was ready to say screw you guys, I don't want to hunt supernatural things anymore.
And no one says that and gets away with it.
Apparently not.
So we've talked about that we're going to be saying Bluey and Supernatural. Those are the shows we're talking about. But the episode specifically that we're talking about is we actually gave each other two. And since Brian gave me two, I'm like, well, that's 2 hours of television. I'm going to give him two episodes of Bluey, which is 15 minutes of television. Know, it's so a little bit of a trade-off. But the episodes that I watch is All Hell Breaks Loose, which is the season 2 finale, the two-parter that season 2 ended on. And the episodes that Brian watched, both are in season 3, the newest season. One of them is called Born Yesterday, and one of them is called Unicorse. So let's talk about Supernatural.
Sure.
So you immediately hooked me, because these episodes start with, even the previously on, starts with the best song by Boston, Foreplay a Long Time. And I love that song so much. I'm like, I'm grooving about it. Of course, within moments of the action starting, then the song cuts out. I'm like, well, now it's all downhill from here. But this episode was Sam and Dean get separated because Sam gets sucked through some sort of demon hole kidnapping thing and gets brought randomly to some ghost town in South Dakota, where he is joined by all of these other I think they call themselves psychics. I think that's the terminology they give themselves. Yeah. These other people with powers that he had been developing over what I guess is season 2.
Yeah.
And so all these other psychics are joining him there, and they're trying to figure out what's going on in this town, and the demon children that are there, and how to escape together. And everyone's like, oh, I don't know if we can work together. And come to find out, it's the yellow-eyed demon who has set this all up as they suspected, and so they're just trying to outlast the night while Dean is trying to figure out where Sam went,
Yeah.
and follow up on the threads of that. So, anything I missed in it? I mean, there's a lot of details, but
No, that's part one. And as I was rewatching it, it's like part one isn't really that as important. Like I picked it for basically the graveyard scene in part two, but you don't really understand all of what's happening if you don't watch the part one first.
sure.
Yeah, and basically, like, Sam had been realizing he had some of these psychic powers, and they didn't know what was going on with that. And then they realized that they found other people with similar powers. That's how they kind of started to find these other people. And then, like you said, all of a sudden, they're all together in like a makeshift Hunger Games kind of thing is what it turns out to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny to hear Yellow-Eyed Demon just be like, this is like your American Idol. It's your like all these reality shows of the time of the last person winning surviving there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's putting them against them, showing up to them in visions and dreams, and giving them all the same pitch.
Yep.
And so like I felt like this was probably the whole sort of idea that Supernatural is, like, just even in the first episode of the two-parter, like that like there's a monster of the week sort of thing. And like for the second season, my guess is the monster of the week has been building towards Yellow-Eyed Demon. We keep seeing him pop up throughout the season.
Yeah, and the first two seasons, he's like the overarching villain. He's like their family's ultimate goal, and along the way, they kill other, main demon and other demons and supernatural stuff. But like, especially with their dad, who you see a little bit in the second one, or the ghost of him, kind of like he basically has spent his entire adult life vengeance against this one demon. But there are supernatural like monster of the week along the way.
So it felt like I got a good taste of what this show would be. And it does feel like, it shares so much similarities with Smallville in terms of like, they can probably do anything that they want. They can give any of these demons any powers, and that they can do like, oh, this episode is going to be more of a Western one. This episode is going to be more of a sitcom-y one because this demon can make them all see a sitcom or something stupid like that. And so, like the doors open for that sort of thing. And it did feel like that very CW type acting. And there's definitely a time and a place for it. And it's like, I talk about how much I love Smallville especially the first half of it more than the second half. But there is a lot of cheese. So watching this, I'm like, yeah, this is a cheesy show. And I can see why it was big in the time it was, but it definitely would be different nowadays if it was made then.
Well, and they just got even more cheesy after this, because this was season 2. Keep in mind, they went for 15 seasons.
And they ran out of ideas by the middle of season 3. No,
I never finished it. I made it through season. I think I made it to season 8. I had never saw the last half of the show.
But also in this episode, it's really funny because, like, you see where the next season's going to go because Sam dies. And Dean makes a deal with some demon to be able to bring him back. And he has to give his soul to the demon for, like, he gets a year on Earth if they spare Sam's life. But then in a year, Dean has to die. And it's like, that's so ridiculous. Such a ridiculous premise. Because then I'm picking up that apparently Dean's dad did that for him, except for it was a different time period.
Yes, well, I mean, the making of deals with demons is something that had been established in lore, and most people, they get 10 years. But I mean, the Winchesters are very like, they're like celebrity villains to the demon world, so it's like they're more important than just your average schmo. So that's why it's like, no, you're a Winchester, you're not going to get 10 years, and kind of thing. Yeah. The dad didn't do like the Crossroads demon thing. Basically, I think it's at the end of season 1, they had the Yellow-Eyed Demon where they could have killed him because the dad had that gun. They talked about this is like a special gun that could kill demons. But then that was when Dean had died. Both the brothers multiple times with the series die, and for some reason or other they always get to come back. It's like Jack Bauer never dies, but everyone else can die in 24. the brothers will die at certain times, but they all for one reason. Oh, now they're back. Yeah, Dean does die, and then later on, Angel's like, "Yeah, I pulled you from hell. Of course you did." Anyways, the dad had the gun, and Dean was dead, and basically he's like, "Well, I'll give you the gun and let you free, even though a whole life is wanting to kill you, but then you have to bring my son back." So that's why the dad was in hell.
Gotcha. I did also find it funny, like when the dad gets out and is like, "Oh, he's no longer in hell." Is like, "Well, then where is he?" "Well, I don't know." Like, dude, you guys just fought demons. You just saw the gates of hell open. Is it so hard to believe that maybe the other side of this is true? Maybe he went to heaven now. Maybe that's where he's at, dude.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever confirm where his the dad. Maybe in the later seasons, I haven't seen yet.
But it's just like I don't know because it sounds like they talk now with angels and they have other stuff later. But
Yes.
it's like if they're fighting demons and then they like have this idea of like, oh, but I don't know if I believe in heaven. Like that's so stupid. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it just felt like that from the one line. Like, oh, really?
Yeah. And then you should probably talk about the main reason I had to watch it. We get your reactions to like the funeral scene, or like the funeral scene, the graveyard scene.
Gotcha. Yeah, that so having not seen the two seasons preceding that and just trying to be caught up, like there wasn't any emotional weight in it
Yes,
for me.
obviously it wouldn't be the same.
So I was, it was like actually, so once he pops up, I'm like, I spend most of the time being like, is that Jeffrey Dean Morgan? Hey, he's in this. Oh, how about that? And like, that was where my mind was. It wasn't even so much on the story. It was like, I was pulled out because it's like, I wasn't expecting this actor to suddenly pop up.
Yeah,
So
which I knew him first from Supernatural, and then he went on to be in The Walking Dead.
it felt very Grey's Anatomy because Jeffrey Dean Morgan is dead in Grey's Anatomy as well, and someone is seeing a ghost of him, but like no one else can see him, and so there's like this whole arc with them seeing him, and I'm like, oh, it's the this actor is getting typecast apparently.
Yeah. So, anyways, what happens is like the yellow-eyed demon is like doing the villain monologue thing where he's like about to kill Dean, and all of a sudden you see like a ghost pop up, and it's the ghost of their dad who was able to hold the demon, like shake him out of his body, and that allows Dean time to quick get loose, grab the gun, and shoot the demon dead. And then he like looks at his both his sons, didn't say anything, and then he kind of just disappears.
Yeah, the Harold Ramis of 2002.
Yes.
Spoilers for Ghost. Spoilers for a year and a half old movie. Actually, no, it's only a year. But yeah, no, like I don't. I guess I don't know what to say. Like, I wish I could have more things to say because I was just distracted by the actor and the casting first. Because it's just like let's say you're watching Bluey, and then all of a sudden, like Rashida Jones pops up on the screen. You're like, what the heck is Rashida Jones doing?
Yeah.
It would be like, I have no context for this, and you're spending the entire time just thinking about why is she here? That was my whole thing, and just trying to piece like, okay, so who is this guy? And it's like, wait, I thought the one dude that was with them that was like partnering with Dean for a lot of the episode was his dad. I'm confused, and then I was like, oh wait, no, they had their conversation about like how his dad did this for him, so I guess it's not, like trying to remember all the relationships and everything because there's a lot to still be caught up on. So
yeah, Bobby is
that's where
like,
I was at.
Essentially their dad. He was like one of their dad's best friends, and like he's throughout. I mean, until spoiler alert, Bobby dies in like season 7, or I think season 7 is when Bobby dies. But until then, he's basically like they always go home like for the big moments. They always get Bobby back. He's not a regular, but he comes in for all the big moments, and then until it's a big emotional thing when he dies.
Yeah, good old Bobby.
Yeah. And then this could have been the series finale. They were in talks about canceling it, but I guess at this point the DVD sales from season 1 were really pumping up, and that was part of the decision to keep it. And so I think they could have been writing this, closing the yellow-eyed demon storyline as a potential. This is the end of the show kind of deal.
Did you talk about Bobby in like the Best Fathers episode? Was he one of your picks?
Yes, he was.
So I watched your show with one of your best father picks, and you watched my show with one of my best father picks because I had Bandit on there. So there you go, full circle.
There you go. Well, do you have anything else on the supernatural part of it? Otherwise, I can jump into Bluey.
I don't on the previously on though. I saw Sterling K. Brown. I'm like, oh, now this would have been the earliest thing that I would have seen him in because I didn't see him in
Yeah.
anything until This Is Us.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He was a vampire hunter who then got bitten and turned into a vampire. Then he had to get killed, if I remember that correctly.
Tale as old as time.
Yep. I had forgotten that he was in that too. And I was like, oh, that's right, Randall's in this.
It got extra points. The show got extra points for me for using Boston twice actually because it ended on Hitch a Ride.
Yeah, no, they ended on Carry On Wayward Son.
No. They might have in the original, but in the version that I watched, because sometimes they'll change the songs for like music rights, because Scrubs did that a lot.
Okay.
So that must have been what happened if it was Carry On Wayward Son originally. But on Netflix when I watched it, it ended with Hitch a Ride from Boston.
Yeah, like that era of like the 80s rock is kind of like their genre of music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Boston's great, guys.
Yeah. All right, so for Bluey, now I knew a little bit about Bluey. I've heard both from Matt and also from my cousin's husband. We had a little family thing back in the summer, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Bluey's great." But yeah, I've only heard it from people who have little kids. And
because no one's gonna go out of their way because it looks like a kid show. No one's gonna be like, I should watch this.
Yeah, the only way I'm gonna watch a little kids show is if I have nostalgia from when I was a kid, because Power Rangers. There's your reference. Or like if I have a kid, or if I have get referenced, or if Matt makes me watch it.
There you go.
But I will say, it is better than a lot of kids shows in the fact that it actually has a story and it actually has some humor. Like what bugs me is when shows are so like dumbed down. It's like, now I'm going to sing a song about the color yellow. Yay. Like that. Make a story. You can not all kids are going to understand it, but make a story. And so the first one, Unicorse, it starts with such a relatable thing. Like the mom comes down from putting the kids to bed and just exhausted. And the kid's like, comes down. I don't want to go to bed. He goes on this rant, like, I'm going to make it so that everybody has to stay up. I'm going to throw all the beds in the dump. He's like, well, they can sleep on the couch. Well, I'll throw all the couches in the dump. Well, that sounds like a long day at work. You better get some rest for it. I should. Wait a minute. Like that's a funny joke. That's a funny exchange back there where the kid recognizes that he got played. And at first I thought it was going to be like one of those things where the mom does all the work, because like the mom just put the kids to bed, and then she's the one saying like, okay, I'll read you a story. And the dad's kind of like not really doing anything there until the dad comes out with this stupid unicorn puppet.
Okay, I don't know why it's called Unicorse. I don't understand that.
I don't know either. Because that's his name, Matt.
Apparently.
Okay. Now, I'm going to jump into the world of animation. I know besides, don't just say, oh, it's animated. That's why. Okay. Either Unicorse is actually alive, or else the dad has like some supernatural dexterity in his fingers, because not only is he performing the puppet, but the puppet's arms move as independently. You'd have to have like your pinky and your thumb in the two arms working very well for that. Like, so I give skill to that animated dad for being able to manipulate those puppet's fingers.
And there are times when the puppet will rotated like 720 degrees. So Bandit is like quadruple jointed in his arm, or he dislocated his arm in efforts to commit to the bit, which is equally impressive.
Yeah, I mean, if you have those skills of dexterity and triple jointedness, be a puppeteer for sure. But it's like every little thing, he's undermining the story and making it fun. And the mom is like, we're trying to calm him down. No, I don't want to calm down. I want to have fun. Or I forget what else he says. But I mean, for a little kid, I mean, this would be great. This would be fun. This would be awesome. But it's like the whole point of this is to get your kid to bed. And even later on, he comes up with a second puppet who's like the first puppet's lawyer, who is like, and eventually he just ignores the kids, and like the puppets are fighting with each other.
That's such a good part. Like, he gets hurt, so then he brings out a puppet lawyer, completely different puppet, and also he has built a miniature like Slim for the other puppet and like a cone for the unicorse to put around its neck to show that it's injured. Like the commitment Bandit has to this puppet show is amazing.
I imagine he has like a giant trunk full of like every prop you could possibly imagine, and it's just a bane. Like the mom's like, this stupid puppet chest. Like, what is what? See, like
The fact that she
of
brings up that she's like, oh no, I forgot about the catchphrase, shows that he has brought this puppet out, that he's used that catchphrase for, and that like all of this is familiar territory to the
what
mom.
was the catchphrase again?
And why should I care?
Oh yeah, and why should I care? And why should I care? It's so, oh my god, like. I'll give it props. Like we're world building for it. We already have it established that they have a chest with all this stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff I like because it leaves it open ended. It, you know, it's clever. It's funny. I don't think I'm gonna watch any more of it myself. But I mean I can understand. Like if I had little kids, I'd rather have them watching something like this.
Yeah. I mean, like it has a unique idea too, like because every single episode should have a theme. Every single episode of kids shows tend to be like, here's your lesson, and this is a unique lesson that no one really does for kids. Like it's not like I think this is the best lesson in the world, but it's one that I just don't see where it's like there are some people because like in the episode Bluey's like trying to reason with Unicorse and try and get it to change and like realize what it needs to do, and Unicorse just isn't having it, and eventually he Bluey agrees with the mom and is like, oh yes, I guess I can't change it. And I like this idea of like there are people in the world that are just going to be so entrenched in who they want to be that there's nothing you can do to change them, and it's not your job to change them. And I'm like, that is a weird message. Like I agree with the message, but it's kind of like more a teenager type message to learn than like 4 or 5-year-old.
Yeah, both episodes have the dad. He seems to say his name's Bandit, right?
Yep.
Have Bandit putting himself in a position where he's the chaotic like child character and forcing Bluey to kind of take on like an not authoritative but like a voice of reason kind of role in both episodes.
Yeah.
Which if
I mean like that's a good way of parenting too if it doesn't interfere like the way it did with Chili, which is the mom's name, in the Unicorse episode.
Yes. Also, you have to trust that your kid's going to actually be the voice of reason and not just amp you up and like, yeah, let's be more crazy. Because then you're just being annoying to your wife.
What great jokes, though! Like, I want to go up to people on the street and be like, "Don't worry about the sun; it's supposed to be there."
So then, with that, we'll get into the second one called "Born Yesterday." It's a little unnerving that it starts with mom doing yoga and the kids come out clearly taking pictures of her butt because they're dogs, but still, and mom has to be like, it's not very polite to just take bottom pictures of each other. Definitely not something you expect to see in a kids show.
You say that's unnerving, but anyone who has young kids will realize the conversations. Like, I never thought I'd have to tell you not to do this. I've never thought like this is just a common sense thing, and for me to have to teach someone else, no, we don't take pictures of people's butts.
But also, if you have young kids, maybe don't be doing naked yoga in the living room.
Oh, fair. Let's pretend that it's not naked yoga.
I mean, yeah, they're dogs, so it's different. Along those lines, with volunteering at church, I actually had to say a phrase to, I think it was like a first grade boy. Don't take your belt off your pants and whip your brother with it.
You think that's bad? I have in my life had to say, don't stick your fingers in your butt after you pooped and then stick them in your brother's mouth. It's just like there's so much that's wrong with what you've done, and I have to address each one by its significant thing.
Sometimes
don't put them all together.
Sometimes when we get too far off tangent, I'll cut out some of our rants. I'm leaving this in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is gold. This makes the cut.
Yes. Anyways, the kids are taking pictures of their mom's butt, and then the dad comes.
And back to that.
Yeah. The dad comes in, and they try to get the dad to bend over too, and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't born yesterday." And like, what is that phrase? And he says, yeah, that means I've been around long enough. Like I'm not gonna fall for your. I'm not gullible. And then they're like, ooh, can you pretend you were born yesterday? And the dad's just like all in, like, yes, this is what I'm doing all day today. This is like in the office when Jim realizes that Dwight thinks it's Thursday when it's Friday, and he's like, or reverse that. He's like, okay, this is my day today. And so the dad just is like acting like, what's a name? What's a stool? What is this? It was basically just like being dumb. And at first it's kind of like, okay, I get it. It's a little annoying. But you said then he goes out into the world and starts interacting with more people. And like you said, he runs up to someone and he's like, it's okay. The blue thing, that's the sun, it's supposed to be there. Don't worry. And like, if you're not afraid to embarrass yourself a little bit, that stuff would be fun. I think he's crossing a line when he starts eating the neighbor's pie.
Yeah. I like the son gag because it's like he freaks out when he first sees it. What is that big ball of fire? And no, it's the sun that's supposed to be there. So then he imparts that onto some random stranger at a bus stop. And then when the kids are embarrassed by it, they're like, Dad, we don't have to talk about the sun. And so then like he bumps into
Shut
someone
up
else.
About
like,
the sun.
Exactly. He bumps into his else. It's like, hello, nice to see you again. I'm not allowed to talk about the sun. Like, okay.
Like the writing is clever, and even in universe, that shows that Bandit is quick on his feet to keep these jokes going.
He's great.
And it also spreads it spreads the message that communism is bad, because it says, other people, that doesn't belong to you. Other people's things aren't everybody's things.
Yes, that's true. That's part of the episode.
Yes.
Take that, filthy communism.
And then they get back home and like, Dad, can you stop pretending you were born yesterday? And he stops. At least this time he stopped. He knew when to stop. Unlike with Unicorse when he didn't know when to stop.
You got a really bad exposure of Bandit, I will readily admit.
Well, and I like him a lot more in this episode.
Yeah.
And then
he's meant to be annoying, obviously, in the Unicorse episode.
There's a little moment. I can't tell if it's too cheesy or kind of nice where when the mom looks outside, he's like, is he still pretending he was born yesterday? And they're like, no. And he's like looking at admiring a leaf. And it's like, I think we're supposed to think like, oh, look, yeah, he's appreciating nature. But I'm also thinking like, you've seen leaves before. So
I do like that because I like the idea is that we get used to things. We take things for granted, and it's like when you allow yourself to look at something like it's the first time that you've looked at it, then you can maybe see things that you wouldn't have seen before. And I think that's a great and like that's the theme of this episode, partially. But I love that walkway that like Bandit learned something even as an adult. He learned something from this stupid game he played with his kids.
Yeah. So a lot of messages: appreciate nature, communism bad, unconsenting butt pictures are bad.
Unconsenting butt pictures are bad. You heard it here first, folks. That's gonna be the name of the episode. Mm. Hey, that's a good clickbait title. People are like, what? What am I getting into?
It's funny. Like, I'm listening to the Boy Meets World podcast, Pod Meets World. It's with the stars of the show. And what happens like a lot is I'll listen to the podcast, and then a couple of days later, I'll see a clickbait article on Facebook that's like taking one little context of something they said and blowing it way out of proportion, make it seem like, oh, Ryder Strong hates the show, and like, no, he's talking about a criticism of one specific episode, and it's like they're just clearly listening to the podcast and trying to think of anything they can do to make these stupid clickbait articles.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like, and then they're like, we'll use the quote, and then you're like, well, if you listen to the quote, you're only listening to half. They're only saying half of it. Mm-hmm. It'd be like, I don't like cake as much as I like pie. So and so doesn't like cake. Like, no, I like cake a lot, but I like pie more. That's a bad example for me because I hate pie. And you can take that to one to the bank. But it's like, just because you're saying you like something more, like you can completely use 100% real quote, and you can change the way that you phrase it, or not phrase it, but you change like
Yeah.
where you stop in it or where you start to make it say something completely different. And I see the media do that way too much, and it's super annoying.
Yeah. Well, even like, so here's an example, a real life example happened today. I was texting my sister and asked her, like, should I bring anything for Thanksgiving next week? And at first she's like, you can bring drinks, which sounds like a slap, like, oh, we don't trust Brian with anything else because, Paul just likes to make the entire meal and apparently he's making a giant feast because that's just what he does. But then
Right.
she said, no, she has me bring drinks because her kids specifically said, have Brian bring drinks because he brings the best drinks.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're going to be in charge of cups and ice.
Yes, I will be in charge of cups and ice. You know why? Because I'm not on a health kick. I don't drink LaCroix and tap water. I bring good stuff. And so, like, that's why they want me to come.
So much shade being thrown about family texting right now. Guess what? That's why I'm the fun uncle. I bring Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, you know what? You know who they didn't ask to bring drinks? Dan.
Nope. No, they didn't ask me either, but I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to drive like the 4 or 5 hours up, I'm sure they'd feed you.
I'd love to. Love driving for no particular reason.
Yeah. On a holiday.
Oh, on a holiday. So there are two things I want to bring up. First of all, my favorite joke of both of these, and my kids loved it too. And this was the one that is just like, oh my gosh, I need to recommend this episode to anyone. Is the when Bluey's trying to connect with Unicorse. So what do you like to eat? And then he just stops and stares at him. Children. And he's just like, what?
Totally
like, just kidding. Like you do not see that coming in this kid-friendly show at all. But I mean, obviously he plays it off because he's joking and it's not. But it's like, what the heck? But then the second thing I wanted to say is that you can see pieces of why I included Bluey or Bandit as best dad, especially
for sure.
In Born Yesterday, because that's what he does. Like, he is so apt to play with his kids, and like he is always down to join in their imagination and support their imagination and their things. And usually the mom is pretty good about it too. And there's not so much where it's like, because she was a little bit of like, her whole thing in Born Yesterday was, I need someone to unload the dishwasher, and in the other one it's the, I'm annoyed with you and you're on her side. So you didn't really get a whole lot of Chili and her personality in it, but they actually have a really fun marriage. They have a fun back and forth, and they're great parents together. And so he's good at supporting her. He's good at empowering his kids and like, especially their imaginations. So it's a lot of fun to see him as a dad do that. And it doesn't even feel like it's unrealistic. It's like, sure, you see the best moments of their life, but it's not like he is so understanding that like there's never a time when he corrects them, or there's never a time when he like, because he has even moments. There are some shows where it's just like he does the wrong thing, and he realizes he does the wrong thing. And now he realizes it quicker than we typically do as real people, but like he'll admit his mistakes to his kids, and like he'll realize when he can't be perfect.
Yeah, that's one way to be a good dad. Another good way to be a good dad is to literally climb out of hell and tackle a demon. But
Correct. The dad episodes here.
Yeah.
One of those takes a lot of more work out of you.
A little bit.
And the other one is climbing out of hell. So, well, that is all for Supernatural and for Bluey. Those are both shows. It sounds like neither one of us are sold in watching more of it, but they were good episodes. I have actually started watching, because you've recommended IT Crowd to me before,
which is actually the first time we ever did one of these. I gave you IT Crowd.
Correct. So when was Fresh Prince? Was that the second time?
Second one, yes.
Okay. What other one? Because I think I might have started watching another one of the shows that you recommend. No, because you recommended the one with Rita Moreno and.
We done. This is the fifth time, so I've recommended One Day at a Time, Fresh Prince, Cheers, Saved by the Bell, and One Day at a Time.
Gotcha. Yep. So the only one that I've started is IT Crowd of that. So that one was good. I enjoyed it, and I don't remember which ones I've given you, but they were all wonderful. I think you watched Firefly off of my
I watched Firefly, and I watched The Chosen, and I watched Chuck.
That just shows that my shows that I recommend are better than your shows. I
Or does
think
it
you're just
show,
proving that.
or does it show that I'm a better friend than you?
I mean, both can be true.
True. I do think out of the ones I gave you, I think you personally would like Fresh Prince the most out of the ones remaining.
Right? Yeah, I think you're right. I'll give you that one. I do like the little bit that I've seen of it, so
Mm-hmm.
I might get around to it sometime.
Yeah.
I doubt I'm gonna watch like the remake that they did because like seeing the advertisements, I'm like, I haven't even watched more than an episode of the original. I don't know why I'd want to
I don't
watch
know. I
the
might
remake.
check it out. I mean, it's another one of those. I don't think it needed to be like a gritty remake. I
Yeah,
think if you could keep it the same tone or don't do it. I don't know. We'll see.
I I can appreciate that they're going a different route because it's like I can see why if you're gonna make a remake, you're gonna maybe try something different, especially something that is so. It's like comparing it to the Lion King remake, where it's like they stuck so close to the original script that it's like why even bother?
Yeah.
So I get that side of it, but
But
I don't know.
the beauty of Fresh Prince was that it was so like campy and funny and goofy, but then when it dropped serious, that's when you really notice. It's like, oh, Will's dad came back and left again, or oh,
Yeah,
Carlton is afraid his dad might die. You know, all this different stuff made it more impactful.
that's fair. I've only heard one person who's watched it and they liked it, and that was our friend Terrence. He liked that show, but that was early on, so I don't know if it like has kept up that same level of quality from those first episodes. I don't know. I don't hear people really talking about it, but
All right.
except for us who haven't seen it and
Yep.
have no horse in the race. So, all right, trivia time. So last week we talked about She-Hulk, that wonderful Marvel property. And in She-Hulk, there was an episode where Jennifer Walters was watching TV. She sees Miss Piggy Hulk out, so to speak, and bend the bars of a prison cell that she's in. And I asked, what was that from? Which Muppets movie or TV show was that from?
And I will give the answer and the context to that scene. It was from the 1981 film The Great Muppet Caper, which is the second Muppet film that was ever made by Jim Henson and Muppets. It's the first one directed by Jim Henson. And in that scene, Matt's already regretting giving me this window.
You just jumped in feet first and just like I'm going.
I didn't need any preparation. I forgot that was the trivia until about a minute ago. In that scene, Miss Piggy had been framed for jewel theft by the film's villain, played by Charles Grodin, and she breaks out of prison, and she eventually commandeers a motorcycle and rides it through a stained glass window to save Kermit and the Muppets. Because as currently at that point, Charles Grodin had a gun pointed to Kermit's head, and I think even to those who are Miss Piggy haters, that is an awesome scene.
I do like Charles Grodin, and I also like to see him get hit with flying motorcycle and shards of glass. So
yes,
there's that. Mm-hmm. All right. So Charles Grodin has like he has such a unique career because he's got like the most punchable face in Hollywood, and he's like, yeah. I know it, and I'm gonna lean into that hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's only one role, and that was in the movie Dave with Kevin Kline, where like he didn't play an absolute jerk that I can remember. So I don't know. Anyway, so this week's trivia. In the episode of Bluey Born Yesterday, we talked about Chili starting the episode by doing yoga, and the yoga instructor on the screen is actually played by a celebrity. And so what celebrity voices the yoga instructor of the episode Bluey Born Yesterday?
I know this because you just told me.
That's how you know things. Yeah. I know the answer because you told me the answer. Great job, Brian. We're all proud of you here. Well,
gotta brag when I can.
I should have started the episode by saying Happy Thanksgiving. We talked about Thanksgiving this episode, and I hope that your Thanksgiving was just wonderful, and that you, like Bandit in the episode Born Yesterday, you can take a moment and look at things like it's the first time you've seen them, and you can have a deeper appreciation for the things around you that God has blessed you with, that God's blessed all of us with, and we are so grateful for things that we don't even realize we should be grateful for. So I'm grateful for you guys. I'm thankful for you, Brian. I'm glad that we've got this time.
Me too. And also, you realize recording this is 2 days away from being 2 years to the day from our first podcast recording ever.
Woohoo! We've come a long way from talking about, what was our first episode?
Our first episode was just it was best ensemble casts.
So talking about best ensemble casts all the way to talking about Supernatural and Bluey.
Yeah.
That's a journey.
And to believe that for all the we talked about The Office, there were only 6 episodes that were directly about The Office.
Only 6 out of 100 and some.
Yes.
Which is fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, enjoy your Thanksgiving food. Make sure you drink things that aren't crappy like LaCroix, and instead drink to your heart's content. But if you're drinking alcohol, then be safe. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
I reminded you to stay tuned and keep watching.